Someone once said some very wise words. New names are the lifeblood of your organization. We've been talking about name acquisition strategies, name retention strategies, and the reasons that these play a very important part of your overall development program. And I'd like to camp on those issues for just a little bit here. Bradley, you brought this up a little while ago. Why the issue of new names? Why is that such a critical issue for development directors?
Well, I've spent my whole career trying to grow small donor bases, and so this is kind of like my passion and what I get excited about. But one of the things that I think most people don't understand is that if you do nothing to acquire new names and you do your best to keep the donors that you already have, if you do all of that, your donor base is going to slowly just shrink because of atrophy. Your donors are going to die, they're going to leave, they're going to get mad at you. There's all kinds of reasons that donors leave your organization, and they're leaving you. And so you have to be in a constant state of like trying to make sure, doing your best to kind of be in relationship with them, communicate with them, speak to their heart to keep them with you. But even if you're really, really sensational at that, you still have to be aggressive in bringing in new people to your organization to replace the people that are leaving.
You know, Brad, when I talk to organizations about acquisition efforts, they just shrug their shoulders, not quite knowing what to do. Most organizations think of acquisition in terms of large direct mail strategies. And I think we have to realize there are lots of other acquisition strategies that any organization can utilize, whether that's the internet, whether that's events, whether that's a referral strategy, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
How do you go about getting new names into your organization, and how do you distinguish between new names and new donors? What's the value of a name versus the value of a new donor?
I'll take the donor. Donors, please.
Okay.
I mean, the one way that you can look at this, and the way that I look at this, is that most people are not going to initially come to you as a donor. Their first dance with you or their first date with you is not going to be, you know, the one where they're giving you money. Sometimes that happens, and when that does, that's fantastic. But the reality is that the way things usually work is we get introduced to someone. You know, someone gives us their name, they invite them to an event, and so we're introduced to them. And then we begin the process of communication with them. And so, obviously, there's a higher value on a new donor, but we have to also put a value on a new name, because that new name ultimately becomes a new donor at some point, or they don't. You know.
And it's important to have a series of different steps in the communication process in trying to entice a donor to join us as a financial partner. And that may include a phone call, may include a series of benefits, may include a small free gift. It doesn't run forever, though. You don't do that forever. You make a decision that at this point they've decided not to join us.
Right.
Isn't it true that many people today are skeptical of any kind of involvement with a new organization because they know they're going to wind up on a mailing list and receive monthly mail from an organization that they may not really care about?
You know, I'm skeptical. But the point is, when I join a nonprofit that really aligns with what I believe in and my values, I want to hear from them frequently. I want to find out what my gifts are accomplishing, and I think that's what we have to strive to do.
Right. One of the realities I think we have to look at is that it's not just a question of adding names to our mailing list. Right. It's a matter of qualifying people based upon shared values. If they believe in what we believe in, if they believe what is important to them is important to us, then there is a more likely development of relationship there. But I think it's also important for us to realize that we as organizations, we as development people, have to take action to help people make those decisions that goes from the point of being, quote, interested into being financially involved. And that's a process that we call name/donor conversion. Right. And there are some special strategies that we can use to help people make those decisions. You mentioned, Barry, series of communications that invite people to make that decision and come along with us and become a partner with the organization, not just a name on the mailing list.
That's right. And you have to make sure that you're testing all the time in terms of what processes as part of that indoctrination work the best.
Right. What letter? What letter?
Maybe
is
the phone call after
Maybe
the second
it's
letter.
usually the phone call.
Yeah.
I'll go back and say a little bit about the quality of the names. I am the guru of failing in this area. I've tried so many new name acquisition tactics and strategies, and I've acquired lots and lots of new names that were just not quality. They weren't even really interested in the organizations that I was represented, but because my new name my acquisition tool was alluring enough, I got people to come in, but those people were never going to convert to donors. And so, you know, you have to, I guess I would say don't sacrifice quality for quantity when you're talking about bringing new names into the organization. If you can get, you know, your current donors to give you 100 new names and you can convert 20% of those, that's going to be way better than, you know, some other crazy strategy to get a lot of new names into your organization.
Yeah, and not all organizations are created equal. The Brad organization may be able to have a universe of 1 million names, whereas the Berry organization may have a universe of 500,000.
Right. Yeah.
Or in your case, it may only be 500 names.
That's right.
A lot of it depends upon the universality of your cause. And one of the things that you have to recognize is that people will not necessarily stay with you for a lifetime. And so you need to be constantly looking at how can you wean people from your mailing list who are no longer interested, who are no longer involved. I think one of the cardinal sins that many development directors make is to mail to absolutely everybody they possibly can on their mailing list, whether they've heard from those people in the last 10 years or not. And I think that is one of the things that causes a lot of development directors to fail, is because they're simply trying to connect with too many people who aren't interested anymore.
Right.
Name acquisition, donor acquisition, conversion of prospects to donors. These are strategies that we discuss quite at length in some areas of Fundraising Success Team. And I would encourage you again to go and take a look at the materials that we have there. And I think that you'll find there are there's certainly some quality ideas, some quality strategies there that can make a difference for you in your development work with your organization. Be successful. Thanks for joining us.